How would you describe your experience in becoming a priest?
Um, so kind of like the vocation story or
Like your
go.
story on like how you got your vocation and
Yeah, so um I grew up, like I said, in on a dairy farm. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm from the States.
cool.
And we always went to church. We went to a small country church. My brothers and I were all altar servers, and I suppose that kind of started off with a sort of how'd you how'd you call that?
Your
Just like
journey?
church stuff was normal, right?
Yeah.
And then I met some friends and I started going on retreats. So I'm a priest with a congregation called the Legionaries of Christ,
Hmm.
and so I met a couple of brothers from the Legionaries of Christ when I was young, or grade 5, and started going on retreats with them. And then I started kind of feeling this itch that Christ was calling me to go on an adventure, and I didn't really know what that was or what that would look like. But the first step of that adventure was to go to this school for boys who wanted to become priests. The school is in Indiana, in the United States, and I didn't want to be a priest, but I
Yeah.
wanted to go to that school for some reason. And that's then where then there God started leading me toward a desire to be a priest. But then for 12 years, so after I finished that school, I joined, I went to that school in grade 8 and finished high school there. And then I joined the seminary, joined the congregation
Hmm.
of the Legionaries of Christ. And I always knew, for some reason, I always knew this is where God wants me, but I didn't know where He wanted me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it took me about 12 years of discernment before um, I realized, like, this is where I'm supposed to be
Hmm.
for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like dating where you can't date the same person for your whole life.
Yeah.
You have to make a commitment, right?
Hmm.
Or find the person that's for you. So I was kind of, you could say, I was like dating for a long time, and then finally had sufficient clarity to say, this is where God wants me for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
been an adventure, I think, is how I would put it, because this adventure has taken me to different states, and then I went to Cornwall, Ontario, which is near the border of Quebec.
Hmm.
I was there for 2 years. Then I was in Connecticut in the United States. I was in New Hampshire. Then I went to Rome for 2 years. Then I went to Texas and visited Mexico, and then back to Rome. And um, but then like that is nothing compared to the spiritual adventure, I guess, that goes on
Yeah.
and all that. So becoming a priest has been a kind of an adventure because it's something where you start off, you know where you're going from, and you know more or less where you're headed.
Hmm.
You have
Yeah.
no idea how to get there, and you're following God's lead and learning to trust Him the whole way, even when things aren't clear. So I guess adventure is a pretty good way of summing up the vocation story.